Hello and welcome to Business Perspective. It's another beautiful week and time to look at what is trending in the economy. First, the headlines. Acting President signs into law an executive order on public asset declaration. Nigeria's excess crude oil account stands at $2.3 billion. IITA initiates $850 million projects on technologies for African agricultural transformation. On taxation and society today, we shall be looking at the tax amnesty of the federal government and the threat of jail term upon evasion of taxes. Detail of this will be given to you after the short break. Don't go away. I am Abiola Ismail. Welcome back. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo has signed into law an executive order on public asset declaration. Osinbajo, who signed the executive order during the launch of Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme, a new tax reform program in Abuja, said punishment for tax evasion will be severe. The aim of the executive order is to aid government in its revenue drive, which is currently put at 6%, the lowest in Africa. Business Perspective correspondent Rashida Yusuf completes the story.
Tax invaders in the country are certainly in for hard times, with the signing into law of an executive order on asset declaration and tax compliance. The order gives grace of 1 year for individuals to declare their assets, after which they will be subjected to legal action for failing to do so. The grace period is between July 2017 to March 2018.
Before anyone attempts to cover their embarrassment with an indication of how much tax is paid through their companies, as a lawyer, I'm well positioned to inform you that such explanations are not tenable. There must always be a correlation between personal income taxes and personal lifestyle. Personal assets can only be financed by income that has been subjected to tax.
As part of measures also to check tax evasion, a mass media crusade is being launched with over 750 young graduates who are to serve as volunteers across the country. They are to educate people on the why and the how of paying taxes. According to the acting president, the need for prompt payment of tax cannot be overemphasized.
Have deducted taxes from employee salaries and have pocketed the funds. Tax evasion is not, of course, a uniquely Nigerian practice. Some multinationals have used transfer pricing and profit shifting to rob Nigeria of its share of the revenues generated from within this nation. Now, tax evasion, as we all know, is, of course, not just a civil matter, it also is a crime.
It is against this backdrop that anyone found wanting will be met with sanction. Consequently, every Thursday is now declared as Tax Thursdays. On such occasions, forthwith, government at all levels are to engage in revenue drive, during which citizens of taxable income will be captured for compliance.
The National Executive Council says Nigeria's excess crude oil account stands at $2.3 billion. The council disclosed this while giving an account on the excess crude account ECA, as well as stabilization, natural resources development, and ecological funds. The Gombe State Governor Ibrahim Dankwabo, who briefed the State House correspondents at the end of the meeting, said the council also approved extension of budget support to states due to the economic recession. The budget support loan facilities is an initiative of the Buhari's administration to help states boost their funding in the light of the dwindling allocations of the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC.
A balance of the excess crude as at the end of the month stood at $2.3 billion. Balance in stabilization account stood at 28.5 billion naira. Natural Resource Development Fund had a balance of 87.6 billion naira and balance in Ecological Fund of 28.9 billion naira. Council also was briefed on the issue of the budget support. You know, the budget support was an instrument that was introduced by this administration to support states because of the dwindling oil revenues and the issue of budget implementation. The program was done for a year and it ended off last month. But because of the recession that is still ongoing, Council or acting president approved that the facility should continue pending when other claims of the state and local government will be settled.
The International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, is initiating a $850 million project on technologies for African agricultural transformation aimed at building on the products of research and ensuring it reaches the target ends in development and scaling in African countries. IITA also called for an improved mechanized farming that will help the increasing output of farm produce. The institute, who is taking an x-ray of 50 years of existence in Africa, maintained that local farmers need to move away from the use of cutlasses and hoes in order to build a vibrant agriculture in their domain. The speakers noted that it plans to strengthen the foresight and future dimension of agricultural research to address the challenges of climate change.
That there should be that support to ensure that the available technological options really flow to the farmers, and then they can lift the level of production, they can reduce the losses that they are encountering, and also looking at, for instance, the availability, the cost and health status of the seed arms. This is a very critical element that really influences the whole chain. And we have a whole range of technologies that will address this very well. So we hope that working together with the government agencies, we'll be able to ensure that we can export and we can still expand even further on the domestic availability of the yam.
We have a lot of good plans. We have a lot of good policies in Nigeria, but what we lack is the implementation, the follow-up of these plans. Implementation of agriculture, just like Kwesi said, is really at the state and the local government level. And so he identified 5 states that he wanted to focus the Zero Hunger Plan. He wanted to focus on them to help them implement the Zero Hunger Plan.
How do we transform African countries so that they can put in place mechanisms to get out of the situation where 35 billion of our money goes into bringing food that we can produce? So he, in partnership with us and a number of other organizations, has established a program called Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation.
The scale of justice must always be at equilibrium. Whenever people fail to pay taxes, they are labeled tax evaders. What do we label governments whenever they fail to provide services? We label them service evaders. Tax evasion and services evasion are 2 evils that government and society must tackle. One is a reaction to the other, and both are very dangerous. These are the words of Mrs Morenike Babinton Ashaye, FCI, FCIT, Chairman, Accounting, Education and Research Services. Now the federal government has given tax evaders in the country 9 months from July 1st to March 38, 2018 to regularize their tax status or risk 5 years jail term, as well as forfeit of their assets in a new drive to increase government revenue from taxes. And most importantly, the federal government is aiming at $1 billion from the new tax drive. These are the issues we shall be looking at in the interview segment sponsored by Accounting, Education and Research Services on Taxation and Society. You're welcome to this edition of Business Perspective interview segment sponsored by the Accounting, Education and Research Services. Today, we shall be looking at Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme. The scheme was launched during the week, and gratefully enough, we have in the studio one of those who attended the launching, who also happened to be the former chairman of ICAN, Ikeja District Society, in person of Mr. Oderinde Josua. You're welcome on board, sir.
Thank you.
And also, we have, as we usually know, one of our sponsors, Mrs Morenike Babinton Ashaye, FCIT. She is also the chairman of Accounting, Education and Research Institute. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you very much.
Today we want to look at issues surrounding this new voluntary asset and income declaration scheme. Mrs. Babinton Ashaye, we all know that taxation under the Constitution is a legislative matters. Can the acting president use an executive order to override a legislative matters?
In this case, it is not tax amnesty per se. What the acting president has done is within his executive power. What the acting president has done is just to waive interest and penalties. Under section 59(1)(b) of the Constitution, it is written that a bill for the imposition of or increase in any tax, duty or fee, or any reduction, withdrawal or cancellation thereof will be within the purview of the National Assembly. And that is why you have seen that the acting president did not declare any tax amnesty that relates to, relief of taxes. When you are talking about tax amnesty, it has to do with reduction in tax liability. The acting president has not gone to that extent, because if he has to reduce tax liability, he has to prepare a bill and send to the legislators for approval.
Now, is this tax amnesty, is it in a real sense, is it an amnesty on its own?
Well, somehow one will say it is a waiver. I wouldn't call it tax amnesty, just because I explained earlier, usually tax amnesty, comes with a package of probably pay 50% of what is due to government, or probably your net worth. We are going to charge you 1%, or giving that advantage. And that is why a lot of people are wondering, what type of tax amnesty is this? Will this encourage us to come forward? Because if I have a tax liability of 20 million, and you are saying that you are only going to waive penalty and interest, it may not be that easy for someone to come forward and say, oh, I'm going to pay that 20 million. But if you have a clause there, okay, we know you are owing 20 million. Give us 50%. Hold on to 50%. A lot of people definitely will come up.
Mr. Oderinde, what are the justifications for the tax amnesty?
Well, the justification really is to encourage citizens to be honest with their tax declarations, and also to come forward for their previous defaults, so that they will be forgiven. That is the spirit. There will be no prosecution. That is the spirit behind this program, from my understanding and from the words of the acting president and even the Minister of Finance.
On that encouragement, then why do we have tax evaders? Then why do we have people, dodging to pay tax? And what do you think government can do to minimize or eradicate this issue of?
Usually, tax evasion has so many reasons. First, either the government is not performing, and people may not want to add to their non-performance. You don't want to give your money to a government who will not, carry out the services that are essential for the society. Secondly, when the revenue or resources of the country is not equitably allocated and distributed, when you see the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, definitely, people will not want to pay taxes. Of course, for us to be able to eradicate tax evasion, it might be it might be difficult to do it totally, but for us to be able to do so, government must perform.
Good.
You must spend people's money judiciously. The constitutional requirements under the public order, the social order, you know, public order relates to good governance.
Yes.
It has to be done. Social order relates to well-being of the people. It has to be done. Economic order relates to economic activities where people are able to do businesses without any discomfort. That must be done. So if those things are done, it will be easy because people will be seeing that they, you know, they are getting what they should get. Thirdly, there must be what you call sense of belonging. When there is inclusive democracy, you are participating in your government. You know what your government is doing. So it's easy for people to want to pay their taxes.
And Mr. Oderinde, now, the fragment says whoever that fails to regularize within the 9 months grace, that's 5 years jail term, awaiting such a person. What do you say to this?
Well, it's still in order, it's still in compliance with the tax laws. That's the reason why it's advisable that everybody should key into this window of opportunity, so that one is not regretting at the end of the day. It may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity because another government may not be favorably disposed to this type of amnesty, in quote, in future. Though if you look at amnesty, as Mrs. Ashaye rightly mentioned, amnesty is really deeper than waivers of penalties and interest. But we should all embrace this opportunity offered by the federal government and take advantage of it and key into it, because once you are jailed, you may forfeit some opportunities in the nearest future, like holding political office. You can be bad. So it is nice. And also our politicians too should key into this, because it's an open window. All political office holders too are also advised to key into this, to take advantage of this rare opportunity.
Now, when you look at all these documents, we have the authorities file, we have the frequently asked questions, and we have the declaration form individual. What are your observations?
Well, regarding observation on that, on the tax authorities file, it gave a background of work that was done and how they are able to come out with this strategy, and also some case studies. It's a good one, but it was silent. It's silent on the political office holders, whereas the executive order covers everybody. So we should also look into that. Also, the language is simple, it's in English, but we still need to go further to our local languages, like Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, Ibibio, and other local languages, so that we enlighten people, we enlighten the populace. The other one, frequently asked questions. I will commend the work done over there, but we still need to translate it to other Nigerian languages. The other declaration for individual is a good one. It's now placing more responsibilities on directors of companies, both public and limited liability companies, that they have the responsibility of full disclosure of their income. The era of hiding their income and even benefits is over. They should quickly do it now. And also another opportunity which we also need to emphasize from the document is that there is a provision for instrumental payment of whatever tax liability is finally agreed. We have to give this to federal government in giving this opportunity for instrumental payment for whatever is agreed. And also, before I stop, confidentiality of information supplied, both on the part of the taxpayer and also the officers, and any officer of the Inland Revenue Service that plays with those information are also sanctionable from the document.
Your contribution?
Well, I observe from the declaration form that government is silent on transfer, illegal transfer of money from Nigeria, to overseas. That is important. That should be included because with that, it will be easy for them to know, because those who have transferred money illegally outside the country. Also, the issue of foreign investors, is not there. It should be included. Foreign investors who have been here, from those periods, we want to know how much they have transferred illegally outside the country, because we have different laws actually talking about transfer of, repatriation of funds. This will guide the government to know whether companies or investors have actually been following that law on repatriation of funds. That's what I have seen. He has spoken about the language. The issue of public enlightenment program is very, very important. This is not something that can be done just on television or or over the radio. I would advise the government to make sure that local governments all over the country
tax
also
officers
key into this, because they should be able to sensitize because they have town, they have village meetings and so on.
Exactly.
They should work for whatever they are going to receive.
How do you think federal government can include the informal sector in this scheme?
I think it is easy. You see, what I believe is that if we allow the local government to perform, it will be easier for them to get data and actually sensitize those that are living in their communities. Because you find that many local governments now have a lot of community development associations, estates, and so on. They can invite them and sensitize them towards tax payment.
And finally, your take home. What do you think we should encourage our people to do now that we have new scheme coming out in terms of encouraging us to pay tax, and also government to use the money we are paying for the benefit of the masses? What's your take home on this?
The take home on the part of the masses, we should all key into this. Those of us that are enlightened, we should join in enlightening the populace in the language they understand.
Okay.
And also on the part of government, there should be intensity in the aspect of public enlightenment. It's nice that they've employed 7,500 community liaison of tax officers to take charge of this program. But when you look at the size of the country, it's grossly inadequate. The mass media should also come in this campaign. And whatever money we generate, we should also use it judiciously to the benefit of the masses.
For me, I would like government to perform. I would like government to ensure that they can, people can have trust in them. When you have people's money and you are using it for their benefit, there is no point building roads when those who will apply the roads are dead bodies. You want to be able to have good health care, the education, housing for people. So if government can do all this, that people will be appreciative of whatever they are doing, that is good. I will advise people, taxpayers generally, to take advantage of what government is doing. For me, government is not doing enough. As of now, as far as this tax amnesty is concerned, if government really wants to rake in money, I think for government to motivate the people, they should present to the legislators, because they need to bring in the legislators with on this. They should bring them in, let them know, the advantages of having reduction in tax liability. I'm sure if they do that, they will rake in more than they expect.
On our taxation and society today, we have been looking at voluntary asset and income declaration scheme. And I want to appreciate the guests I have today, Mr. Oderinde, Josua, who happens to be the former chairman, ICAN, Ikeja Society. Thank you for coming. And Mrs. Morenike Babinton Ashaye, we appreciate you and we appreciate your contribution. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We hope next week when we have another discussion on taxation and society, you also join us. Till then, bye for now. Now let's look at the submissions of my guests today. Mrs. Babinton Ashaye advised that for a tax amnesty to be effective, the acting president, Yemi Osinbajo, must do the following: prepare a tax amnesty bill and present it to the National Assembly. Additional forms should be prepared for the following taxpayers: foreign investors, multinational companies, civil servants, public office holders, foreign nationals, and NGOs. I will leave you now to the graphics of today's trading on the Lagos floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the prices of commodities from the precious and melter and other commodities. Till next week when I will bring you a fresh and fact from the business world. I am Abiola Ismail.